So my previous video was devoted to the sculptural representations of St. George and the Dragon close to the church of San Giorgio dei Greci. We've now moved a short distance away to the Scuola di San Giorgio degli Schiavoni, that is to say St. George of the Slavs. And this building was a kind of meeting place and also a place of worship for the local Slav population, and, as its name makes clear, it's also dedicated to St. George. In its interior, it contains magnificent cycles of paintings by the painter Carpaccio, cycles devoted to the three saints, St. George, St. Tryphon and St. Jerome. We're not going to go inside to see those because, as in the previous video, I'm going to confine myself to sculptural representations. But perhaps it's worth saying that in those paintings of St. George and the Dragon, Carpaccio gives the full story as laid out in the Golden Legend by Jacopo da Voragine in the 13th century. And according to that full story, I've been erroneously saying, or perhaps to put it better, I've been rather simplistically saying that St. George slays the dragon when he thrusts his spear into its throat. In fact, as Carpaccio's paintings make clear, the dragon was only wounded and thus tamed, and the saint brought it back to the city in Libya that was being menaced by this dragon, and after having baptized the entire population, he then cut the dragon's head off. So yes, he is a dragon slayer, but he does it with a sword rather than with a spear. So having made that rather pedantic explanation, I'll now show you the two sculptures on the walls of the scuola. And there is this one on the side wall, which is a little difficult to see from close up unless you can get into that boat there down below. But it is a very beautiful work. There is a date on it, 1574, and I find it rather striking in its elegance. It's protected by that sort of eave protruding from the wall, so it's not very weather-beaten. The horse is prancing very beautifully, and you can see the saint there with his spear, and I think it's his cloak fluttering out behind him. And even the shape of the dragon has a certain elegance. Notice that wonderful fan-like shape of its folded wings. And on the right stands the sinuous figure of the princess that the saint is saving from the dragon. So we'll now go down the steps to have a look at the facade of the scuola. And there above the entrance you can see another representation of St. George and the Dragon. This one dates from 1551, and it's the only one of all the carvings we've seen so far whose author we actually know. This is by Pietro da Salò. It stands below a marble group from a couple of centuries earlier with the Madonna, St. John the Baptist and St. Catherine there on the right. Quite a fine work, but I think Pietro da Salò's work is perhaps superior in the quality of its carving. I like the energetic way in which the saint is leaning forward on his horse as he thrusts its spear into the throat of the dragon. And there again is the pleading figure of the princess on the left. And perhaps in this one we're led to feel a certain sympathy for the poor dragon, which certainly seems to be running away from the saint and turning his head back in fear, just in time for the saint to shove his spear into the open mouth. We're very close to the Bridge of Sighs here in Campo Santi Filippo e Giacomo, and we're going to take a detour down this quiet little alleyway towards an even quieter, undisturbed courtyard. A homely little place, as you can see, the washing hanging there. But what we've come to see is this. So having perhaps had our sympathies aroused by that last dragon on the facade of San Giorgio degli Schiavoni, the poor beast running away and being pierced as it flees, I thought it would make a suitable conclusion to look at a dragon here all by itself, a dragon unpestered by lance-bearing saints. It probably dates from the 14th century and is a magnificent piece of sculpture. I think we can just enjoy the beauty of this beast with its lolling tongue, its twisting, scaly body, and its beautiful folded wing. A dragon at peace.